Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
The Daily Compliance News for February 25, 2025, the HR Reckoning Edition. And we begin with that story from the Financial Times. It says, HR, a reckoning for HR is coming. While few people have sympathy for HR in difficult circumstances, managers need HR as much as anyone. It's certainly harder than it's ever been for HR professionals with higher stress and burnout. There are many reasons: economic turbulence, the return to work, diversity initiatives or not, return to office, disgruntled employees, and leadership are ramming decisions down employees' throats. All are making HR more difficult to do and becoming a punching bag. Yet, as with compliance after Trump suspended the FCPA, it's even more important. So, a reckoning is coming. Is your company ready? Next up from the Wall Street Journal, in the technology section, large language models pose growing security risks. More and powerful, pervasive large language models are creating this risk for companies. LLMs are a generative form of AI that communicates through language in a human-like way. However, a danger that sensitive corporate or other personal information could be released and put out across AI. There's a possibility that models could bring unsafe codes or data into organizations, and these threats are bound to multiply as LLMs are commoditized going forward. So what's the word? Be careful out there. Next up from Bloomberg, a fairly dispiriting story that anti-corruption efforts in South Africa are stagnant, according to Transparency International and their 2024 Corruption Perception Index. The country scored a 41 on this year's index. It was below the world average of 43. So South Africa does not appear to be making progress. This is going to be something that I'm sure the Trump administration will hammer South Africa on. And although the country has been lifted from its dirty money watch list that the Financial Action Task Force put them on, it's still the country's still ranked very poorly for what they should be doing. And finally, Elizabeth Holmes appealed to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in her conviction for the fraud she engaged in around the sales offering of Theranos has been upheld. The full circuit, or rather the panel, upheld the conviction and rejected claims of legal errors from her trial. At the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.